she's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Ellen Karis, and this is Karis Comedy Corner, and we are Zooming, and we have a great guest today. I am very, very excited, but before we get to all that, let's thank our sponsors. We're very grateful for both of our sponsors. First one, Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all of your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with any type of a flyer for your business. They can help you with your social media, your website, analyzing the demographics of your business. They're also experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, hollywoodgreeks.com, to find out where all the Greek entertainment is, and HellenicFestivals.org to find out where there's a Greek festival near you. Yes, 2021, we will be having Greek festivals, no question. Our other sponsor, Select Flex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? They also call it an insert, and you put it in your shoe. Why are these different? Why should you buy them? Let me tell you something. These are the best things in Suitcase on Wheels because they have a geometric beam in the arch. You can adjust the arch to firm, extra firm, extra firm, depending on what your needs are. I do not go out of the house without these in my shoes. I don't work out without them. Check out their website, selectflex.com, selectflex.com. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there's a 25% discount if you put in the code FAMILY25, FAMILY25. You get a 25% discount. They have a 30-second video. Check them out. I'm telling you, your knees, your hips, your back, your whole alignment will thank you. Okay, very excited. We have a celebrity on today. I know. How did I get it? How did I get him to come on? I hounded him. That's how I get all my guests to come on. I kind of quasi-stalk them. Very excited because our guest is one of those actors where you go, oh, that guy, I know, I watched him on ER. I saw him on NCIS. I saw him on Arcadia. I saw him on Suits. He's all over the place. That's right. It is that actor Erik Palladino. Thank you for joining us from LA.
Thank you for having me, Alan. Appreciate it.
Oh my God. Do people do that to you? I know you're that guy.
Yeah, I get like, I'd say that most of the time did we go to high school together, or where are you from? You look familiar to me. Or I get, are you that guy from ... And usually they're wrong. Usually it's somebody.
Did you ever get, did we date? Did we?
I mean, that's possible because I did do a lot of dating pre-marriage. So, I get that definitely. It's rare that I get name recognition. When I do, it's always really nice when someone's like, "You're Erik Palladino," and I go, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool." But it's a good level because I remember when I was on ER, it literally went from me just being a working actor doing because I started out in comedy. All I did was sitcoms initially. I don't know if you know that about my career.
I want to find out about that because all I knew was drama. Although you because I follow you on Instagram and on Facebook, yeah. You're very funny, so I could totally see that.
So that's all I did initially was comedy, sitcoms, multi-camera sitcoms. When I first came to LA, I came out from New York. By the way, before I go into that, do I get like a discount on the 2 advertising things you did on the front end? What does Jess get? I get like, I know a listener gets 5%, but am I getting like 40?
Yeah, listen, I will send you a pair of orthotics for doing the show.
So basically, I got a hookup.
Yeah.
I got a hookup. Okay.
No problem. You got that's the swag that we give out here on Karis Comedy Corner. I'm sorry, there's no iPhone. We give orthotics.
What was the first one? Baywalk.com?
Baywalk Marketing. It's if you need a flyer, they'll do it gratis. I'm sure. I'll have to pay for it.
.com, but we can get Hollywood Armenians. We can slip that in.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, no. Use some orthotics. I'm getting up there. But I don't know. Orthotics aren't just automatically correlated with somebody that is older, though. You could have it as a younger person, right?
That's interesting that you said that because a lot of kids play sports and, especially with these orthotics, if you're flat-footed, they're really great because they have the arch support.
Yeah.
So no, it's not an old person thing. It's not. So we can take that off.
I do both ways.
Pronation.
I'm wide and flat-footed and long, so I'm a 10 both ways. I've
Okay.
briefly
Square.
square feet. I have Fred, my wife.
I like this. I like this.
Yeah, like my penis. Anyway, it's too soon for that. Too early.
No, never.
Anyway, so when I first started, I did sitcoms. I got cast in New York for a sitcom called Love and Marriage. Prior to that, I'm sorry. Prior to that, I worked on Comedy Central short attention span theater with Mark Maron for 6 months.
Oh.
And we did, remember that show, Short Attention Span Theater?
Basically,
it was like clips for comedians that there was a host. It was like MTV's, it was like Comedy Central.
Right. Oh gosh.
MTV. Yeah. And so I was 24, I was 90, it was 1994. And I had long hair. I sang in rock bands in New York, and I went to college. I went to Marymount Manhattan College. I got my bachelor's degree in theater, and I did theater in New York. But I also sang in hard rock bands for many years in New York City, Limelight, Danceteria, Bitter End, the whole scene down there. That was where my bands played.
Limelight.
Yeah.
Oh,
my band used to headline Sunday nights. We were a band called No Happy Faces.
I feel like I remember that.
We were. You know what band you will remember? My brother's band, Tour de Force.
Yes.
That was my brother's band. My brother was a guitar player in that band. And they were they used to play all over. They used to play, L'Amour's and L'Amour's East. And remember L'Amour's in Brooklyn and L'Amour's East?
I used to have fun. And I had collagen. Yes.
Oh,
yeah, I totally remember it.
No, totally. I mean, I wish it was my phone. Oh, I'm on my phone. Sorry. But that's where I started, and I worked with Mark on Comedy Central, and and I got cast initially as like the dopey, cliche, stereotypical, cute, dumb Italian guy. You know what I mean? And and that was like Tony Dan. Everyone was like, "Oh, he's like a young Tony Danza. He's like a young." And this was before Matt LeBlanc hit on Friends, so it was like probably me and Matt LeBlanc were the two games in town that could do sitcoms. And then I did Amy Sherman cast me, Amy Sherman Palladino. She wound up dating a guy named Palladino at the time, cast me in a show called Love and Marriage out of New York. I'll never forget, because I had long hair for years out of college and I couldn't get a job as an actor because they didn't know how to cast me with long hair. I was like, I'm not cutting my hair. I'm staying true to rock and roll. I'll fucking cut their hair when they pay me to cut my hair. You know what I mean? It was that kind of bullshit that some 20-year-old says, idiot. So I kept my like 2 years out of college, and of course I didn't get anything, but I did get the Comedy Central gig playing Nick the elevator operator. So I was on the beginning of the episode and at the end of the episode. Mark would get in the elevator with me and I'd be like, "Hey Mark, what's on the show today?" You know what I mean? And then he would be like, today we got Janine Garofalo, she's stopping by, or Martin Short stopping by. And then they would have to get in the elevator with me and I would do like a scene with Martin Short. It was always like, I'm the awkward elevator guy talking to him with, rock and roll, long hair. And then he'd get out and have, an interview with Mark. And that was back when Mark was definitely a little bit more uptight. I got along fine with him, but he definitely, like, back then he was not as, I think he's come out of his shell. Back then he was definitely more serious, I think.
Right. Well, too, he has a lot of success. I don't know him personally, so, I'm just sort of speaking out of observation. But his WTF podcast, which after you listen to this one and check all mine out, you can check his out. I know he's a great interviewer, and he's got, talk about guests. So, and he was. I think I give him a lot of, I really admire him because he laid the groundwork for comedians doing podcasts in a sense. So, but anyway, yes, but, and he's very honest about his background and his feelings. So,
yeah, honest about being like kind of an asshole younger. He's
right.
He wasn't an asshole to me, like, because whenever I've heard him speak about himself in that manner, I'm like, he just was like more cold. He just wasn't as friendly. You know what I mean? I worked with him for 6 months and it was like, he never, asked me about, hey, how's your life? You know what I mean? And I've had that many times over the 25 years, 30 years I've been working as an actor, where you work with people and that you're like, I've worked with this guy for 3 months and he's not asked me one question about my life. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, okay, sorry, dog. How you doing? There you go. Oh, hold on.
That's okay.
Darling.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
hope you like dogs.
I
we have three dogs and 3 kids here. Hold on, let me shut this door. So anyway, I did that show, and then I was walking around New York City post that show, and they actually hired a stand-up comic to kind of take over that role after I left. I'm trying to remember what his name was. Remember the bartender on The Sopranos that they always beat up?
The bartender on The
Sopranos.
Wait, I'm thinking of the guy that owned the restaurant.
Bartender on The Sopranos that they always beat up. They always kicked his ass. God, what was his name? Anyway, whatever. That's who took over the role. Gotcha. So I left, and then I was just banging around New York auditioning, and then one day I was just like, I'm going to cut my hair. I'm just going to give myself a short haircut, and I cut my hair. And the first audition I had, this is after what happened. This is after auditioning for years and not really getting anything from out of college, except for that, and was for Love and Marriage, which was an Amy Sherman first TV series she'd ever created. And Amy Sherman, for those of you who don't know, created Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and went on to do the Gilmore Girls. But at the time, she was a young writer, and this was basically about an Italian family from New York. But it wasn't. It followed Married with Children, so the tone of it is still her style. Even then, right. It wasn't bump sitcom-y. It was funny, but it was realer. And to follow Married with Children, they thought it would be a good fit, and it wasn't, because ours was just a little bit more honest, not so big. But anyway, I had that audition. I'll never forget the casting director. I was playing a 17-year-old boy. As a kid, and I was 24, 25 at the time. After I do my audition, she looks at me and she goes, you might be too old, but let's put you on tape for LA, just in case, because you are a New York Italian kid. You're cute. She says, you're funny. So she puts me on tape. The next day they call me and they go, we're going to fly you out to LA. And this was my John Travolta, staying alive moment. I get to LA, and what do I know? I never lived in LA. That's not true. I lived in LA for like 2 months when I was 19, in between semesters of college. I came out to LA to check it out. Knew I didn't like it. Knew I wanted to go back to New York. I had a good time. I slept with every girl in sight. I was as
you should when you're 19.
Sorry, 21. Sorry, I was a rock and roll guy with long hair, and I was hanging out in Sunset Strip in 1990. What are you gonna do? And so
you're taking me back. Life was simpler. We actually used to go out.
Oh yeah, every Friday, Saturday night, Thursday nights too were good. And so I got out here, and Amy Sherman, I test for the network. And this is, for those of you that don't know what testing for a network is basically you go to the network. At that time, it was, the studio and the network would be together. So basically about 30 people in a room. And before you walk in, they have you sign your contract. So you literally sign a contract that says how much you're going to make potentially over the next 7 years. And I'm 24. And at that time, I'll tell you guys how much it was. It was $10,000 an episode.
Oh, wow.
Which was like, I'm 24 years old. It's 1994. And I'm like, this is totally insane. On Comedy Central, I made like $1,400 an episode.
Right.
Like, I was like, I won the lotto,
A lot of money. $120,000 a year. Wow.
So well, if it gets picked up for 23 episodes, it's $230,000 a year, right?
Right. Right. I'm sorry, thinking of month. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. I used to be an accountant, so we got paid monthly. Go ahead.
So, you're signing this contract, your hand is shaking, you're reading it. You already know what the deal is because your agent already negotiated it. And usually, unbeknownst to me at that time, when you test, it's you and 2 or 3 other people you're testing against. But this was a pilot. And usually it's just for a pilot for 1 episode. But this was a pilot that had been picked up already for 13 episodes. They just was recasting the role of the son.
Oh.
They'd already had Tony Dennison in it. So Tony, who eventually played my father in it, was Ray Luca on Crime Story. For those of you that don't know, he was also on Major Crimes and The Closer for many years. Wonderful actor, became a lifelong friend. And So I go in to do the audition. I'm scared shitless. I do the read. I come back out, and I wasn't that funny. I was sort of funny, but too nervous to be funny, because all the suits, they're all people in suits too. And Amy Sherman is really quirky and sweet. And she comes out and again, I'm not testing up against anybody. So that's the thing that I didn't realize I had going for me. Usually you're testing up against 2 or 3 other people. So you better bring it that test. But because it was just me, I could have totally fucked it up. And I think I still would have gotten it because she liked me from the tape. She saw me on the tape and was like, that's the kid. Mm. And she comes out, she goes, do it again. Just, relax. And I go, okay. 25 years later, I realized the key to all of this shit that we do is just relaxation, isn't it? With comedy, with everything, acting, just being relaxed. The more relaxed you are, the better you are.
And have, I know it sounds cliche, but have fun with it. When I get all uptight before a big show and stuff like that, I'm like, hello, this is fun. Hello, we're not doing a blood transfusion. We're not, you know what I mean? It's like, it's fun.
But it takes years to develop that. I mean, it's that 10th.
Right.
If you put in the time, so her telling me to relax did relax me because she said, relax, I really like you. She said, I want you to get this. So I knew she was rooting for me, right? When someone's rooting for you in anything in life, you feel more relaxed as a result and you'll do better. So I went in, did better, came out. Everybody starts walking out. They're just looking at me like, yeah, okay, bye. And she's like, and then she comes out and she goes, all right, so next week we're going to have a party at my house, blah, blah, blah. Welcome everybody together. And I'm like, what are you saying? What are you saying? And she's like, we're going to have a party at my house next week. And I'm like, and I'm going back. I'm going. Oh, am I invited to that party? She's like, yeah, you're going. You got the part. I go, I got the part. So, she goes, got the part. Fox Studios, which is an old studio, big hallways, right? Long hallways. And I scream, I'm like, I got the bond! People like stuck their head out the window, like, who's this fucking maniac? And, the Yonkers kid just screaming in the hallways of Fox Studios, and I got it. And then that was like my path initially on sitcoms. So all I did, and that show got canceled within like 7 episodes, of course. That's also the story of my career. I talked to a friend of mine. So I'm doing NCIS LA, and I said to my wife when I came home that day, I was talking to Danny, who's been a regular on NCIS, the female lead, basically, since she's 24. She's like 35 now. She's been on it. When she was 24, she got cast, and she only had like 3 IMDb credits. She got cast on NCIS LA at 24, and that show happens to have gone on to become one of the greatest hits in TV history, right? She's been a regular for 11 years, making millions of dollars. I said to Jamie, I'm like, God, I had my series at 24 canceled, another one at 27 canceled. I'm not feeling bad about it. You know what I mean? But it's just so much luck is involved.
What? I'm sorry. Who was that? What actress was that? Which one?
Rua. She's on NCIS LA. She's like one of the series regulars.
Okay.
So, and lovely girl, but and so she but that's not just her. That's the story of many people. People get like these hit shows in their 20s. Right, they just happen to become hits, and not because of the person usually, right? Like if you get on, you're number 6 on the call sheet as a regular, right? Which has always been my dream, by the way. I've never wanted to be number 1 on the call sheet.
That should be like if you ever write a book, that should be your title of your book. Like, to be number 6 on the call sheet.
Well, because number 1's so much responsibility. I don't want that.
I don't want to carry the show.
I hate it. I literally hate it. When I've done movies and been number 1 on the call sheet, I've done a bunch of those like indies and stuff. And that's fine because you have like a month to prepare. You have time with the script. But when it's a TV show, if you're number 1, if you're Grey in Grey's Anatomy, if you're like Calista Flockhart on the one that
Ally McBeal, yeah.
Remember she had a nervous breakdown? When she had a nervous breakdown, people don't realize this and they think, oh, she doesn't, big deal. Dude, they're working 10 months a year, right? And they're working like their dialogue that they have to memorize. People don't realize they're on the set, let's just say 10, 12 hours a day, like a doctor, some days 14 hours. On Friday nights, they're working till 2:00 in the morning, but their days aren't over when they go home. That's the fucking thing I always tell people that aren't in the business. They think like, oh, they get the part. No, those 10 months they're like in TV show prison, those leads, because they're literally going home. And I'm not, like, great. They got great lives. They get paid millions of dollars. I understand that. I get it. But
Right.
they're going home and then they're studying those dialogue. So when they go home at 10 o'clock at night, they have to study that dialogue until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, then get up at 5:30 in the morning. They're like on these crazy 4-hour night sleep schedules for 10 months. And then the day that they have off, which is a Saturday, same thing as the crew, the Saturday. But the crew, I always say this to the crew, and I'm buddies with so many crew guys, their schedule's terrible too. They have to work 12, 14 hours a day for 10 months. They barely see their kids on a Saturday and a Sunday. You know what I mean? They get maybe like a day with their kids, the crew guys, because Saturday's a waste because they're waking up at like 12, 1 o'clock because they work till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then they have part of their day on Saturday, but the difference between the crew is at least they get to turn off at night.
Right.
The lead actor, right? Not the number 6 on the call sheet. My life is great. My life is awesome.
That's a great title.
I mean, on the call sheet, fuck you. My life is great. Right? Like, who knew? Right?
My God.
Anyway,
that is so funny.
The hustle's not great. Being number 6 on the call sheet, that's the part that's not great, as you know.
Right. But I just, sorry, to your point about early. So I been on a lot of stuff. So I am never on the call sheet. I'm on the call sheet with about 100 other people because I'm usually in background. But I have moved up a few times to featured background, still not putting my name on the call sheet. So my title of my book should be "She'll Never Make the Call Sheet." But anyway,
We'll do it as a double. What do they call
yeah,
it?
for sure. I after this, I want to talk to you because a lot of ideas popping in my head. But anyway, so what I was going to say though was that people do not realize and exactly like you said, yes, they have great lives and it's not like working in a hospital, and I get all that. Of course, I get all that, but the shooting is first, I never realized until I started to do it years ago, it's early. It starts at 5. It's like, you have call times that are 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And you go shooting in the night. You have a budget, even the big budget. I worked on Sisters with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I actually was your background. I worked an entire month, every day except like 3 Sundays off. So I know exactly what you're talking about. We took a bus out to Long Island every day because that's where they shot in Bethpage, where the old Grumman was. But anyway, very long story short, those are really, really, really long days. And like you said, dialogue and someone like a Grey's Anatomy. You worked on ER, all very technical.
Yeah, but like even on those shows, it's funny. Like I only call out when it's the number 1 on the call sheet and the show is named after them.
Right.
So like with ER, it was different because it was an ensemble show. Yes, Anthony Edwards probably had heavy episodes, and you get heavy episodes, and that's different. Like, that episode, he might have to buckle down that week. Right. But when you're fucking Ally McBeal, when you're Gray, not even Gray, because Gray is different because she initially had a lot, but that was still an ensemble. But if you're like
MacGyver,
right? Yes, you're that dude.
Right.
Or
Mrs.
that girl,
Mrs.
Maisel, the girl. Look,
Rachel,
her,
yeah,
like that girl. I mean, I guess when they're younger, it's a little easier. I've noticed when they're in their like 20s and 30s because they've memorized their dialogue a little easier. You know what I mean? No, seriously, like it's a thing. Like, like when I was in my 20s and 30s, even up to I'd say until I was 40-ish, early 40s, and I'm 52 now. It was easier for me to memorize dialogue. So now, like when I do NCIS LA, especially the last 2-3 seasons that I've been doing it, when I come on, I probably in those episodes you see me on, like I got an episode coming up in a few weeks, 2 episodes back to back. Okay. And you'll see that I have most of the dialogue, more than the series regulars. Because what happens on a lot of these shows is that there's this, especially these, what's it called? Like Law and Order is the procedural shows where I make my bread and butter, but I don't know the fucking name, whatever. Anyway, these procedural shows, they have the beginning of the first 2 or 3 scenes where someone will come on and give all the exposition of the episode. So basically we explain the episode to the audience, right? Without making it obvious. It has to be natural and fluid. And you'd be like, well, this is at 3 o'clock in the morning. This guy came and he, if you're doing a soldier show, it's like 3 clicks to Baku, Azerbaijan, and you're throwing shit out there. And you're like, and so that has become like, I need to get that script a week before to memorize that dialogue. If I don't have that script a week before to memorize that dialogue, if I get it like 2 days before, that is some scary shit, because you can't show up on that set with these actors that have been on it for years, right? And I don't get nervous on that set because it's like a second home for me. But when you show up on a new set and you're the guy that has all the exposition and you got it 2 nights before and that shit's not in your fucking body, and you show up and you're kind of like stutter stepping it, or you fuck up some dialogue, no big deal if you have a little fuck up. But what happens is when you get nervous, you might forget more, and you get and I still get nervous from time to time. The only time I get nervous though is when that dialogue isn't fully in my body. And it takes me 3 days to get that dialogue in my body. But imagine if you're like the number one on that call sheet that gets it, like a week in advance, but you're still trying to memorize the dialogue that you have to do for the next day. But that next script just came in and it's piling and piling and piling, and the scenes, and you're like, holy shit. And it's a lawyer show and you have like 2 pages, 3, and you're 50 and you're not 30. You're like, that's where I look at them and I go, give them the fucking bank, right? You know what I mean? Like, give them all, because I don't want that job. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather go back to doing heating contracting in the Bronx with my dad in the basements with the rats and the roaches and doing boiler work any day of the fucking week. I would. Any day of the week.
So, okay.
That job's less stressful.
I have so many questions for you. So just take us back for a second. So you're back in LA. You got Love and Marriage.
So I got the sitcom.
What other sitcom did you work? I'm a sitcom junkie.
So I did Murphy Brown was one of the first ones that I did. I played Lily Tomlin's nephew. New York Italian, delinquent, juvenile delinquent nephew who steals things, and Candice Bergen is trying to stop me from stealing shit. Like, I go in the office.
How is it working on that show? I mean,
it was awesome. I mean, again, when you're hold on. Sorry.
No worries.
Something happened.
There you go. We got
when I wonder if these guys are here though. It's not. I'm just gonna take you through the house. When you're 24, you're 25. I guess I was at the time. I knew that I was working on like part of TV history. You know what I mean? Like, but you don't know it to the level of, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know it to the level of, you do now as an adult, right? Right. I just want to see something. Hold on real quick. Is somebody here? No. Okay. Jamie, if somebody comes here for the pool, let him in the back, all right? Yeah. The guy's got to look at the crack.
Oh, excuse me. The pool. I'm sorry.
Well, I built this house. Your
wife we didn't even get to your kids and your wife yet. Your wife is in real estate, isn't she?
She is in real estate. Yeah, we bought one of the worst houses. Literally, it was like a crackhead house. Like, I'm not kidding. When we walked in, I looked at my wife and she was like, this is the house. I was like, it is the house, but this is going to be the worst decision we ever made in our life. So this house was literally like sinks were being held together by duct tape. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, the guy, I'm switching subjects here. The guy broke plaster to try to fix a pipe in a bathroom tub. And when he showed us the house, the plaster was still in the tub. And I was like, oh, when did you try to fix this? And he said, oh, like 3 years ago. And I was like, and the plaster is still in the tub. Okay, anyway. So you're on Murphy. But by the way, the pool thing is new. We've been here 3 years. I just finished the pool. So, sorry. I mean,
That's
it's Southern California. You got to have a pool. Right?
Please, you know where I live. We're like, I don't know what's going on here anymore. All I know is that De Blasio is threatening to lock down, which means I won't get a bikini wax for another 4 months. But anyway, whatever. Being Greek.
I got a guy. I got a guy.
I'll go to Yonkers.
I got a guy. Dr. Vinny Gumbats. Anyway, so I do that show. It's a great experience. I did a few episodes for them. But then that's how after that, I wound up getting another pilot that Kelsey Grammer produced. And it was like right in mid '98 when, NBC was off the charts. And Kelsey Grammer was like the biggest show on, Frasier was one of the biggest shows on the network, and he was one of the biggest stars up there with any of the Friends people. And so I get this pilot. It's basically Mad About You meets Friends. So it's like a rich girl marries a blue collar guy, and their friends have to become with their friends, right? You got it? Great. There we go. Perfect 90s sitcom setup. Kimberly Williams was the lead, who wound up being on the Jim Belushi show for many years. And Amy Adams was like one of her friends. Not Amy Adams. Yeah, Amy. Not Amy Adams. No. The girl from Hung. Amy. Oh God, why am I not Amy Adams? Jesus, Amy, not Amy Smart. Amy. Jane Addams.
Okay.
Jane Addams, wonderful actress. Jane Addams was on Hung. She was like one of the leads on the HBO. So anyway, so we do that sitcom. They asked me to be, so I get cast in like the friend role, number 4 on the call sheet. And he's quirky and he's sort of Kramer-ish, and he's funny, and he's got his own little quirks, and I loved him out of the gate. But then they were having trouble finding like the lead blue collar cute guy. And so then they offered me the lead part. And this plays into wanting to stay number 4 on the call sheet. I said, they offered me the lead of the sitcom. I go, I like this part. He's much funnier, because he was. You know how leads are not as funny. Like Seinfeld wasn't as funny. Kramer's funnier. I wanted to be funny.
Right.
And I said, no, I'd want to play this part. And they were like, oh, okay. We're giving you a lead. I'm like, no, my agent was like, really? And I'm like, nah, I like this part. And so we do it. And on the night of the show, as we're filming, it was like instant, like it was probably the best moment of my career to this day. It was a pilot that never got picked up, called All Together Now. But Kelsey Grammer kept on coming up to me in between takes, because the producers are there and it's a live studio audience, and he's like, in everything, after the first 2 scenes of my character, the audience decides whether they like somebody, right?
Right.
And so after my first 2 scenes, the audience was like, that's the funny guy. You know what I mean? That's the character. And so Kelsey Grammer kept on coming up to me in between takes and be like, kid, you're killing it tonight. You're killing it, kid. He's like, just keep doing what you're doing. You got him in the palm of your hands. He was like, and I was just like, yeah, it was that Hollywood magical moment. I was 26. I'd been banging away at it since, college, but I also started when I was 13. So I was 13 years deep into acting, really. And the show doesn't get picked up. A month goes by, and I get a call with an offer for a UPN sitcom called DiResta with John DiResta. Remember John DiResta? He was the subway cop. To play. They want. He's coming. And to play his like nephew that lives in the basement. It's basically it's DiResta, but it's King of Queens. It's the same show. You know what I mean? It's funny. John DiResta is one of those guys that I say, it's like, this is the perfect example of this business. John DiResta, without a doubt, should have been a big sitcom star. He was
he's very funny. He's a great stand-up. Yeah.
But he was a great actor. He was like a guy that was like, when I say great, I mean, like he was really good in a pilot, which is a medium he's never really done before. And out of the gate, I was like, this guy's like Jackie Gleason. Like he wasn't like there yet, but like if it built the audience, like within a year or two, like there's, Kevin James wasn't better than John DiResta. John DiResta was fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Like, not that John's not having a good life. He's, having a nice life and stuff, but like, it's just so much fucking luck. He really is. I've come to that conclusion. It's right place, right time, luck, and totally. And perseverance helps. Not giving up helps.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like when I look at John, I always think of him like that way. I'm like, that guy, could have been like, $50 million, like one of these hugely successful comedians, anyway, so they offered me this show that's picked up for 13 episodes. So you do the math on that, right? Like right out of the gate, I'm like, ching, 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 doing the math on how much. But then at the same time, NBC, at the height of NBC, offers me a comedy development deal. In other words, like remember back in the day when they give deals.
Yeah.
So they offered me like $150,000 development deal. In other words, sign a contract and you get $150,000 until we find you another sitcom. So that's how well that character did in the pilot, because it was an NBC pilot, the Kelsey Grammer one. The studio was Paramount. The sitcom that they offered me, DiResta, was UPN, but the studio was Paramount. The United Paramount Network, but the studio was Paramount. Sorry if this is confusing, but there's a reason why I'm telling you. So I decide to not do the UPN sitcom, because I'm like, it's UPN. Like they had Malcolm and Eddie, which I had already done too. I had done 5 episodes on Malcolm and Eddie. I'm like, I don't want to be on UPN. It's UPN. You know what I mean? NBC is like royalty at that time for sitcoms. Right. And I'm going to take the deal with NBC. Although I would have made more money on the sitcom, it was about $35,000 more if I did the full 13. Right. So the day I'm going to sign the deal for the and with NBC, I get a call. I'm like, at my house. It's like 9:30 in the morning, and I'm about to leave. This girl that I was dating, sort of dating, was going to make me breakfast at her house, some eggs. And she's like, come on over. I got some eggs and some pancakes, whatever. I get a call. This guy answers. I answer the phone, and the guy says, "Hey, is this Erik Palladino?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, it's Gary Hart over at Paramount. I just want to give you a call to, check in to see. Rumor has it that you don't want to do the DiResta sitcom." And I said, "I'm sorry, what? Who's this?" And he goes, "It's Gary Hart over at Paramount Television." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what are you asking me right now, Gary?" And he goes, "Well, it sounds like you're going to be taking this deal with NBC, but you're not going to do the UPN show." And I go, "Yeah." I go, "What do you do?" And he goes, "I'm one of the executives at Paramount. I'm one of the suits." And I go, "Oh, okay. Yeah, Gary. I decided to go the other way with it." And he's like, "Do you think you can give me a little more detail as to why?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, Gary. What? I got this girl. She's cooking me eggs right now, and I'm out the door." I go, can I have my agent call? He goes, "No, yeah, you could, but like," he's like, "I'm just curious because, maybe you're not aware, maybe they haven't given you all the information. UPN's got a new president, a very good president. This guy, Dean Valentine, is going to change the network. It's not going to be what it was. It's very different." He's giving me the full pitch. And I'm like, "I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. But have we met?" And he goes, "Yeah, when you did the sitcom for All Together, the Kelsey Grammer one, we're the studio. We met on set." And I'm like, and I can't for the life of me remember the fucking guy, right? Because you meet people on, and he goes, yeah. He goes, "And you met the other guy, another executive guy of mine that's was an Italian guy from New York." And I go, "Oh, I remember him." Because I remember one executive was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm from New York," and we hit it off, a little bit, whatever, And he goes, "Well, would you consider coming into my office talking about this today?" And I'm like, I don't know, Gary, this feels weird. Listen, I got to go. Like, could you call my agent? And so he goes, "All right, I'll call your agent." He goes, "Nice talking to you, Erik." I go, "Nice talking to you. Bye." I call my agent. It's back when I didn't have a cell phone, so I had to call right away. I couldn't go in the car and go get the eggs, because those eggs were delicious. Right. So,
I'm glad you had by the way, I'm glad you had your priorities straight.
Well, the girl was really hot. Right?
I'm sure.
And it was the 90s, I mean, come on. 90s. In the 90s, you don't leave a lady waiting. So anyway,
now
I don't even know what that means, but it feels right. So anyway.
We've been married so long, we're not really sure what that means.
I don't know what that means. So not cool anymore. Anyway, so I call my agent. I say, "Hey, this just happened. This guy called me." And at the time I was with, my agent had left the agency she was with, and she was like one of the first female agents at Endeavor. Endeavor had just started. It was like 99. Maybe this is 99. And she's laughing, and I'm like, what's so funny? She goes, hold on, Erik, could you tell that story again? I want to get a couple of the agents on the phone. And I go, okay. And she says, tell the story again. I tell the story again. She goes, Erik, do you know who that was on the phone? And I go, nah, who wasn't? She goes, that was the president of Paramount Network, the president of the studio. She goes, he called you at home. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? I go, that's insane. Like, she goes, we're going to make so much money today. You know? she's still my agent to this day. She's my manager now, but we've been together 30 years. And so we meet him, you know, in the office. And like the original offer was like, you know, because I got like whatever I got, like I did like the Love and Marriage one, and then they usually pay you a little bit more for the next one, which is what they were offering, but they like doubled it in that day. So I walked out of like Paramount Studios, like, you know, like I can't believe I'm going to be making, like, it was just like total insanity. You know, of course that show got canceled, but the interesting thing about that show, this is where it all changed in my career. So DeResta was a sitcom. It wound up being terrible for me because they didn't really write me as well as they wrote the other character. They didn't know how to write me. You know, like they got confused. And so I was 8 episodes into that show, and I didn't like it. And I was like, God, this is not where I want to be. And, you know, again, I was 28, 29, and I had no overhead. I had $1,000 a month rent. I didn't live big. I drove the same car, or at this point, even after making money, that I drove from New York to LA to New York, New York to LA. And I had like the 84 white Toyota Celica, you know, but I always liked my things. I used to say it was like a little Corvette. My friends made fun of me about it. Still hurts to this day. So I was 8 episodes in, and I called my agent. I said, you know, I think do you think you can get me off this show? And she was like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. It wasn't getting canceled yet. I go, I just don't want to be stuck on the show playing the guy in the basement. I'm like, I just think I could do better than this. And I have money in the bank, and I don't have any, you know, responsibilities. Why would I stop taking risks now? This is a stupid business to get involved in. You know what I mean? Like, why would I stop taking risks all of a sudden because I'm making the paycheck?
Right.
She goes, let me see what I could do. She calls them up, and they go, all right, they want to save money. So, you know, they're not using it to the extent. They liked me and I liked them. They said, she called the guy, Gary Hart, the president of the network. She said, look, you didn't use him the way he wanted to be used. He wants to be let out of his contract. And they said, okay. He said, cool, no problem. He goes, tell him I wish him the best. And, you know, we still want to work with him. We love him. You know what I mean? And something in the future if we can. 2 weeks later, I auditioned for U-571, the submarine movie with Matthew McConaughey. 2 weeks later, and they asked me the sitcom to finish out like 2 more episodes because, you know, they always wrote right ahead. Right. So I did those 2 episodes that I was in, and the day I shot my last episode, I got the offer on the movie U-571 with Matthew McConaughey, Harvey Keitel, John Bon Jovi, Bill Paxton, that shoots in Rome for 5 months and Malta for 6 weeks. Talk about being in that flow of life. Right. I mean, like, you know, I still haven't been in the flow since. That was it, though. That was like my moment of flow, right? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, that was my moment of flow. And so like 2 weeks later, I'm fucking in Rome, walking down the street with me, 2 other young actors, and John Bon Jovi going out to dinner. And I'm like, you know, don't forget, I played rock bands for years. John Bon Jovi was like sort of an idol. You know what I mean? And now it's not just that. The funny thing is, it was like, oh, this is John Bon Jovi. Oh my God. But John was out of his element and he was in mine. Right. So even the dynamic was like cool. It was like, you know, it wasn't like I was kissing his ass. It was like he was nervous about being an actor in a big studio movie. You know what I mean? So it was like, it was a really, you know, we weren't that far apart in age too, because a lot of the guys in that movie was either 23, 24. But because I was 30 and I looked 24, I was playing one of the younger guys, and John looked a little older. He was playing like, and McConaughey and John, even though they were close, they were my age, right. They were playing like guys that were a little bit older. Right. And that experience in that movie changed my life because it was, you know, I realized at the time, I'm like, you know, not that I wanted to be a movie actor. I just realized that I wanted to be all different kinds of acting. You know what I mean? Like I started thinking I'm just a sitcom guy. You know what I mean? Because the business dictates sometimes and then when you're young, you start believing what they're dictating to you, you know, with the roles you get. And then I got that, and it was the greatest experience of my life. And then I came back for 3 weeks, and I auditioned for ER. and they were creating, and so it all changed in 1 year for me. I was a sitcom guy for the first 5 years in LA, and in 1 year I became a dramatic actor.
See, but that kind of goes back to my intro to you. You are that guy. I always said the character actor is what the hardest working and sort of underrated, because this is all tying into what we're talking about, because they're not number one on the call sheet, but they're so important. And it's hard too, because you're doing all different types of characters, and you're bringing so many different elements. You're creating all these different personalities.
Yeah.
And
it's funny,
and it's not, there isn't a lot of time as with a main character to sort of build around, because the main character is being built, where the character actor has to come in and right away establish themselves.
I've said this for years. Okay. I said, it's so funny. Like, you and I talked about, can I tell you about how you and I am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, the perfect example is what just happened between us, right?
Right.
like 2 weeks ago, I had an audition for a Kevin Hart thing that came in, and it was like a Monday or whatever, or a Thursday, and they're like, "Hey, we need this audition tape back by Monday," and I was like, "Cool." And then I'm reading it, I'm like, "Okay," and it's like, it sounds like the guy might be Greek, and then I email my agent, I'm like, "Do they want a Greek accent for this? Because it doesn't say it." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way." "Oh yeah, by the way," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not Greek, and I don't do a Greek accent. What the fuck do I know about a Greek accent?" I'm Armenian, I'm Italian. I knew Greek guys growing up from the Bronx, and I was friends with Greek guys, but I've never been great with accents either, by the way. Like, I wasn't one of those people. I think if you're like a New York guy, it's harder. Accents are harder to learn. I feel like that's true, whereas like English guys, it's easier for them to learn. There's a jumping off point. Our jumping off point's harder. But anyway, what I've learned is when I hire a dialect coach, I'm significantly better. But that takes time. You know what I mean? You need to work with them. So doubling back on what you were saying, Ellen, the Meryl Streeps of the world, they get months to learn their accent for Sophie's Choice. They get months, these A-list stars, to create a character and work with acting coaches, by the way. They don't do it in a vacuum, most of these people. Most of these people have A-list acting teachers that come to their fucking house 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, work scenes, work accents, and then when they get on screen, you're like, oh, they're brilliant.
Right.
But the working actor, we get that shit on a Thursday, create a character in 3 days, and learn a fucking accent by Monday. And this isn't a complaint. This is more like the playing field is just not the same. You know what I mean? So we got to do what we can. Ours is like a cliff. Ours is like a hold on, sorry. Ours is like a Cliff Note version. Right. You know what I mean? Of it, so sometimes if you see us on TV and our accent's like, don't blame us, right? Blame the game. Right. Don't blame the player, don't hate the player, right? Hate the game. So, I mean, so Ellen and I put on Facebook in my initial, like when I first read it, I was like, holy shit, I gotta learn a Greek accent. So I was like, fuck, who do I call? And I didn't go to my dialect coach, the one that I've used before. I don't know why I didn't. I just put it on Facebook. Maybe I was feeling cheap because it's like $175 an hour with the dialect coach. And I put it on Facebook. I said, hey, does anybody know a Greek accent out there? And a bunch of people responded. And then I looked at who responded. And then I saw Ellen. And I was like, oh, I think she probably knows a good accent and probably the wheelhouse that I want. And in between me reaching out or her exchanging emails, I'd already reached out to another person on there that said this dialect coach specifically would be good. And I liked him. So I set up an appointment with him, but then I also talked with Ellen, and she said, oh, well, I could help you out with it. And then we kind of went back and forth. And then I said, all right, let me send you the script and we'll talk about it. And then she put all the dialogue down from my scenes with the accent. And she taught me there was one line. What?
The Greek words.
Yeah,
that
the
they
Greek
put
word. There was
in phonetics.
Yeah, they also had they also threw in a couple of sentences of Greek. I'm like, like learn that in 3 days. All that, so
That was, I mean, sorry, that was ridiculous. That was
it's ridiculous. But by the way, the norm,
right.
not but the norm. You know what I mean? That is the norm. In the old days, even 10 years ago, for auditions, you'd still get 3-4 days to work on material. Now, I mean, the only reason why by the way, just keep in mind, the only reason why I got those 3 days is because the audition came in on a Thursday. Or a Friday, I think, or one of the, and so I got the weekend. But if that audition comes in on a Monday nowadays, they're fucking want it the next day.
Right.
Nowadays, but 10 years ago, they used to give you 4 days of the material. 3-4 days. Now it's 24 hours or 12-hour turnaround, which is insane. You know what I mean? Like, because you're not creating a character in 12 hours. You can't you're creating a Cliff Note version, and you're basically just using yourself and hope that sticks, which is fine. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's great. It's less work for me, but I like the development process of creating a character. I like, thinking about him and spending time with him, and and to me, that's a way of honoring whatever that person is, whether he's bad guy, good guy, or whatever it is. Like if I'm playing a character that's like my dad, this heating contractor that's been going in the basements for 50 years, and you want me to create that in 1-2 days, how am I going to really think about what his life really was like over the course of those 50 years? How am I going to really honor that character? You know what I mean? And thinking about what he's been through in the course of the 50 years of going in those basements, and how that informs his moment in these scenes. And how am I going to, that's so hard. You know what I mean? It's
right.
The imagination, acting's about imagination, and sitting with it. That's why I did great on that sitcom altogether. Now, I'll never forget, that sitcom that I talked about, I never forgot when I hooked into the character. So I had like 2 weeks with him after I'd got it, and I fully wasn't getting him. One night I remember sleeping, when you're in that sleep dream state, I was thinking about who he was as a kid. I know this is like some actor shit, but but I was thinking about
interesting. People don't realize that a lot goes into it.
Yeah. So I was thinking about who he was as a kid, and at the park with his friends, and it's a very Seinfeldian moment. But I thought of him getting on a seesaw, and he was the kind of guy that would do the seesaw for a few, and then he'd be like, "Why do you think they call it a seesaw?" Like 7. Is it because it's like see-saw, see-saw? And I realized, in that moment, I was like, that's him. He's that kind of guy that thinks about all this fucking weird left of the middle shit. You know what I mean? And that just hooked me into him. So from that moment on, when I was on set, I was like, I just thought of him as a kid with that kind of innocent curiosity, and that informed that character. And once I hooked into that, I was like, that was the home run. That's why people liked him, because they liked that innocent curiosity, not that dour, dry. There was something pure about him, and they liked that, so
you had that time to figure that out, right?
Yes.
I mean, it takes a while to get to build the elements of what you want that character to be. It's a character.
100%.
It's a person. It's a person with a personality and a background and
100%.
a thought process. What was it like to be on ER? Such a hit show, went on for I know over 10 seasons.
Yeah.
I was glued to it. I just a great show. You were on was John Stamos on at the time?
No, so Stamos auditioned for my part originally, though.
Oh, okay.
Speaking
of Greek guys, although
so I guess Stamos, I didn't know it at the time. They told me that later, that Stamos was one of the people that auditioned for it, for my character Malucci. So I came on right after Clooney left. I was in the following season with the brand new cast, right? It was like me, Ming Na, Michael Michelle, and Maura Tierney.
Maura Tierney went on to do the Affair.
Years of it. The Affair. Maura and I were very good friends for many years. We have not seen each other that much the last few years, but for many years she used to let me stay at her brownstone in New York when I was a bachelor. Good times.
Nice.
In the West Village, it was great. Those are some good times. Give me a second.
Okay.
No. What an asshole. Anyway, but so but yeah, no. So when we got on that show, it was like this new guard, and and so we, it went. I mean, it was, I was a working actor, and U571 wasn't out yet, because I'd just gotten back to do U5. I mean, after U571, I just got back to do ER, so that takes another year for the movie to come out. So basically, I was the sitcom guy that did a lot of sitcoms that failed, and so nobody knew me. I wasn't recognizable like at all. I might have gotten a little recognized here and then, but not, like very little. But ER was this monster that 30 million people a week watched. I mean, think about that. Like when Walking Dead was at the height of Walking Dead, it was still 15 million people, right? Like ER was like, because there was no other games in town, right? Nobody, there's 3 networks, 4 networks, whatever it was, So you went from like total anonymity to, I'll never forget, it was it was the second episode aired, I guess. And I went back home to New York, and I was in a deli and like, like by Union Square, I think. And it was like one of those delis where it was like kind of the line, it was like a nice line. And then, they had like maybe about, 14 tables inside of it. And I was getting my sandwich, ordering a turkey sandwich. And this black woman next to me looks at me, and she's like, and it was after the second episode aired, and she's like, loudly, "You that new doctor on ER, ain't you?" Like that. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, "I like you. You're good." And then like the whole place turns, like, because she said it loud. She wasn't like subtle with it, the whole place turns and looks at me, and people behind me, people there, and like it was like literally the line went like this, like from both sides, and I was like,
how did you feel though?
My heart was racing. My heart was racing. I got my sandwich. I sat down, and then still people were staring at me while I'm eating my sandwich, and my mouth got dry. So I'll never forget, my first experience was not good because my turkey sandwich was dry. So like I didn't enjoy the sandwich. So I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't know if this is my bag, the fame thing. I loved acting. I loved making the money. Right. You know what I mean? Like that, the Yonkers, you know what I mean? Son of a heating contractor, school teacher, making the money was like, fuck, you know what I mean? And I didn't like spending it. Not that I was cheap. I was good with my friends. I just didn't like spending it on me. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like even though my parents think that you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, my whole life I bought things that turned around good investments, but you know
what? I mean, but you're smart, because you know what? You don't know when that's going to end.
Of course.
And you have to, it's just like when you work on, if you work on Wall Street and you spend your whole bonus, and then I remember I worked on Wall Street, and I remember people complaining. It's like, dude, you've been making a ton of money. Like, what did you do? And it's like, oh, I bought 3 houses. Well,
exactly.
Well, you should have done that.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like my buddy Danny, he's been my like guy. He's a Wall Street guy, Danny, and he's worked he's worked on Wall Street for years, and one of my best friends, and so he's always been like the guy that kind of tells me, don't do that, do this. He's been we've been friends. We've been friends with each other
because artists, a lot of artists are notorious for not knowing what to do with their money.
Oh yeah.
So,
totally.
I mean, when I hear of somebody famous being broke, knowing that they made tons of, millions and whenever, I'm just dude, like what is wrong with you? But I do want to mention, that you are on Mrs. Maisel, the third season. And so I was a waitress in the deli. They've used
I think you did mention that, didn't you?
I mentioned it to you. So I was on the second season, third season, and it's very funny because you're not going to realize this, but I remember standing there. So we're in the deli up on 85th Street, which was a deli at one point, and now they use it as the set. Yep. On 85th and Broadway on the Upper West.
This was like my second episode that I did with them, right? It was when it was really hot that day.
Right, exactly. And I'll never forget. So I'm standing there, and of course they rip out a lot of the seats, they're, I mean, so you're talking about Amy Sherman Palladino earlier. So that woman impresses me so much. I have looked her up. Her father was a writer, so he did. So she was in the business, but I mean, obviously very talented. But I'm saying she just, she grew up in that atmosphere.
No, of course.
And she did Gossip Girls before and all this.
No, there's a reason why a lot of the sons of and daughters of people in the business get better than their parents at it. It's because they've been doing it their whole lives.
Right.
It's not like it's in their DNA. My brother Todd's a better heating contractor than my dad was.
Right.
You know what I mean? He is. You know what I mean? Like he is. He made the business better than my dad. But go ahead. And just to give everybody sort of a flavor on that set, first of all, there's a lot of women that work behind the scenes. The assistant director there, Mariella. I think so. Mariella is awesome.
I mean, I've been on a lot of sets too, not as many as you, of course, but I mean, just the nicest, wonderful, patient. She remembers your name, which to me is like a big, that shows a big thing about a person. But anyway, so we were there. They're very into attention to detail. So I'm the waitress. So if the pickle isn't in the right angle that it was from the scene before, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I'm just saying they're so attention to detail.
Of course.
Some it'll pop up out of that.
The continuity's got to be there.
Sure. And just even the signs to say the prices, and even just the food, like the food, like there's no kale on the plate, it's got to be a knish, and whatever, and potatoes, whatever they would have done in the 50s, God forbid.
Remind me when we're done with this one. Yeah. I'll tell you why I think I got that part. But go ahead.
So, but I remember standing there. So I did the third season as well, and you were there, and I turned around and I looked at you, and I kept looking at you. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen him on TV about a bazillion times, and then it all started to click, and then it kind of clicked in. And I was like, oh, that guy and stuff. But you were into your thing, and you were with somebody, you were playing with the other actor.
The other guy.
But I love that set. You were talking about cutting your hair. So I've been on it 2 seasons. I'm waiting for the next season, and I'm praying that they're going to have the deli. But my hair, which is now in a braid, but they've cut my hair twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just going to say this, and it's nothing against the Mrs. Maisel people, but the first haircut I got, not so good. And a little uneven, and there was the only way I could fix it was to make it shorter, which I didn't want to. The second time I got the haircut, it was a little bit better, and I said to the guy, listen, I got a lot of calyx in my head, so just don't go like this. That's what the first guy did. He literally went like this. So I'm kind of hoping that if I do get it again, that because like you said, you never have enough time, that I can go to my girl to have her cut it. I don't mind it short, but I just need it to cut it the way I want it.
I have a tendency to try to get my haircut before I show up on a set, because the problem is, hair departments are great at doing hair, but I find that they're not always great at cutting hair.
Right.
Because they're not cutting hair like a hairstylist is every day.
Right.
You know what I mean? They might do 1 cut a week. You know what I mean? Like, it's like anything else. The more hours you're spending doing something. So I always try to cut my hair how I want it to be before I show up on a set.
Right.
And then
I had the fitting for the uniform was the next day. So I had But that show is amazing. And talk about hair and makeup. So that, by the way, everybody, takes forever to do hair and makeup, because it's a period piece. And then you're wearing a girdle. I'm so happy I'm a waitress, because the uniform isn't too bad, but for the most part, and talk about dialogue and whatnot, that is such a dialogue heavy show.
And word perfect. So you can't, NCIS, because I've been there for years, they let me change stuff, and I can move things around and make it sound like a little bit, more how I think that character might speak in that moment. And they're totally cool with it. Most shows are not, you know what I mean? Movies more so, you have more room like that. But that show in particular, if you have one word that you change, like the to, an and to a an, or, or whatever the word is, like one, not a, like an important word that it seems, instead of, we weren't going, we're not going. If you say we're not and it's weren't, someone will come in and be like, the word's not. You got to say not. Because
and they're in the back and they're writing. They are working diligently
the whole time.
And I want to give a shout out to Rachel, who plays Mrs. Maisel. Not only is she young and beautiful and smart and does those scenes in the costume, as is the one that plays Alex. Alex is her name, Susie, who you played with. Yeah. But Rachel did something that I thought was tremendous. When she won the Screen Actors Guild, she thanked for a whole 2 minutes the background people, the background actors, and she talked about how important it was to the show and this and that. So I got a chance to thank her for saying that. And she was so gracious. And she was like, I wish I didn't have to say that. And it's so important. Anyway, and I love that show. That is one of the best well-run shows I've certainly ever been on. You were hilarious in it. Hilarious. So
thank you.
People did not, your timing was great. So, I'm so impressed. You've got, and I remember you on ER, and you've got the dramatic and comedy. It's not easy to do both. It really isn't, but you're able to switch it. How did this Italian, half Armenian, and that's why I knew we had some kind of connection. We're Italian, Armenian, and Greek. It's like a triangle, right? Yeah. We are like a triangle. How did you because this isn't something that's nurtured in our backgrounds and in our families. Where did it come from?
It's funny. Someone just posted something about Raging Bull the other day I'm bringing up Facebook, but it was like this director, Rod Lurie, very good director. He posted about Raging Bull and he said, who thinks it's one of the best movies of all time? And it made me start thinking, not only there's a reason why I think it's one of the best movies of all time, but it's also, for me, the movie that affected me the most, because I saw that movie when I was 12 or 13. It was 1981, so I was 13. And that was the year I became an actor. And I became an actor after seeing that movie because I said, wow, that reminds me of all my in-laws, and it reminds me of my family, because we were from the Bronx originally. I'm the only one in my family from Yonkers. Everybody else is from the Bronx. I always say, you guys are from the Bronx. I'm from Yonkers.
You moved north. You moved to the suburbs.
I'm a little, you're from the Bronx. I said it's my own brothers because they were born in the Bronx. I got 2 older brothers. When I saw that movie, it really just affected me as a kid. And I loved boxing. I've boxed most of my life. And I love boxing. It's like a passion of mine. And I just realized, it was specifically the scene when Joe Pesci's like, you put your hand in that plate again, I'm going to stab you with this knife. Remember, he says that's it. And then De Niro comes in and attacks him. You fuck my wife. You fuck, how could you do? But that moment was like an epiphany. I'm like, that is what it's all about. They're just trying to mimic lives so that people could relate to them. I knew that at a young age. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to mirror people's lives. You know what I mean? And have them be moved in some way. And then I just bothered my mom, who was a school teacher in Yonkers, and I kept on pounding her for about 6 months. I was like, I want to be an actor. And also John Belushi. I can't leave out Belushi because I was fascinated with Belushi and SNL. So I wanted to be on SNL. That's why I really started. I didn't want to be De Niro. I wanted to be on SNL. But I didn't know how to go about it. I didn't really, the path for me, had I met someone that was older and said, if you want to be an SNL, you need to take improv classes. You need to do this. You need to do that. I just started an acting school in New Rochelle that my mom found out about through a friend that was on Saturdays at a church, you know what I mean? And children's acting school. Happened to have 2 great teachers, Beverly Kenny and Bill Green. Bill was this skinny, Marvin Gaye, ethereal, funny, sweet, interesting, skinny, tall black man that was awesome. And Beverly G. Kenny was this short Jewish, alcoholic. She had in her thermos, we found out later because she died of cirrhosis of the liver. She had vodka in her thermos. She would be teaching the kids acting with Mike. And my mom would drop us off with these people all day on a Saturday. What was wrong with you, Mom?
And again, the 80s.
Yeah, the 80s. So, and it was like 82, but I did that for years. And that was like, that was the hook. And that's, where it started. And then I got my bachelor's degree. I said, I want to, but my parents shockingly were very supportive of it, mostly because my brother Chris was already a musician. He went to NYU for guitar, for music and music business. And his career was doing well with music. So I think that they saw that, like someone could be an artist and actually, he wasn't making money yet. He was 18, 19 years old, but they weren't like, no, you know what I mean? Like, no, an artist, you know what I mean? Like, so my brother Chris was playing guitar. My brother Todd was not an artist. And then it's just weird. You know what I mean? Like the chips fell where they did. And my brother Chris had a big record deal in the 80s with Geffen. My brother's band was like right there.
Wow.
Oh yeah. They got dropped when Nirvana hit. They were an 80s hair metal band. They used to play the Cat Club. Tour de Force was a big 80s band in New York City, and really more of a suburban band. They weren't a city band, and they used to headline the Moors East all the time in Queens. That was their like big place. And they, they wound up, getting a big record deal. They got dropped when Nirvana hit, unfortunately.
So you had an introduction to show business from there. Okay, so it didn't
from there
right.
in some ways, yeah, to
and,
music,
and obviously watching the greats. So I feel just very fascinated. I was dying to ask you how that all evolved, because not to sound weird, but like I know where you come from, so it's not our natural.
No, it wasn't. No, I actually hit it in high school too. I hit it. Those Saturday classes that I went to an all boys Catholic high school. I went to Stepinac in White Plains, and only my buddy Danny.
Yeah, I know that high school. Yeah, sure.
So, I used to take 2 buses from Yonkers to get there, and it was a good education. I'm glad that I went. And my parents left it up to me. I could have went to Roosevelt down the block, but she said, "Which one do you want to go to?" And I said, because one brother went to one and one brother had gone to the other, and I don't know why. The Catholic school seemed more fun to me. Maybe it was the Catholic schoolgirls. Who knew? But
there's a discipline. There's a discipline, obviously. Which discipline. You know what? Again, it all was meant to be, but that helped you doing what you're doing. Let's just fast forward. I know you got to go. Just fast forward to the present. What do you have working? And also, you are married. Your wife is to die for gorgeous, and you've got these 3 beautiful kids, and you post all these fun videos with the kids. You're such a family man, and I love following you on social media because you have so much fun, and you're loving, and you're a good guy.
Thank you.
You're working on your craft. What about your own creations? Are you writing anything?
I co-created this. I've been writing now for the last 10 years and trying to, I feel like that's kind of the way to go next, really, for me, if I want to do the thing that I, want to do. Because I want to get back to doing more, comedic-based stuff. NCIS has allowed that. They've been really writing towards that for me. Like these next few episodes, you'll see it's like, they're really giving him comedy stuff to do now. I'm a CIA agent that's like comedic now, but I co-created this show that we shot in Rwanda, pilot that we're still maybe going to be able to sell. I don't know, but it was about 2 actors in LA so I'm involved in this charity called We Are Limitless. Go to wearelimitless.org. We put Rwandan orphans through school and educate them. And we've been doing that for my buddy Matt started it 9 years ago, and I've been on the board with him for the last 7 years. And, and I've been to Rwanda. I've seen the actual work firsthand. 88 cents on every dollar goes to these kids. It's pretty amazing. And it's not it's no overhead. It's literally my buddy Matt started it. It's like fucking got 2 people working for him down there. You know what I mean? But they find these, Rwandan orphans that have like, a chance to do well in school. They, that kind of, mostly female. And we've put like over, I think, 30 kids through school now, and continually going through. And we have our first student here in America that's come here, and the college student. And so real proud of that. And we are limitless.org. There's actually a Palladino Kids for Kids one that we're doing now for a holiday. I know times are tough. I know fucking money is ridiculously tight. And I know that it's like a terrible time to ask for money, fully aware of that. But if you want to give $10, $10 is awesome. Right. You know what I mean? $5 is awesome because for $1,800, we can put a kid through school for a year and house them for $1,800. That's insane. You know what I mean? Change somebody's life forever. And Rwanda is not like, people think, Africa. Rwanda is actually one of the most up and coming countries in all of the continent of Africa. There's many, many different countries there. And they're just doing really well, especially after the genocide. And Rwanda speaks to me because of the genocide. I'm Armenian. My family, my grandparents have gone through genocide, and we know how much that, really fucking destroys generations to come. And, we're just trying to help these generations that have been directly affected. I mean, when you go there, it was in the 90s, the genocide happened. And when I was there, you'll see guys with their arms fucking cut off, walking around and carrying shit. And, it was such a terrible genocide, and it happened so quickly there. For those of you that don't know, check, about how it went down. Feel free to, look it up. I'm not going to go into detail here, but I mean, I've never gotten more calls at 9 o'clock in the morning in my life. I mean, and it was so that organization has been, really important to me, and my family has gotten involved with it. And so anyway, my buddy Matt, who started it, we started talking about how do we, create maybe something. We've been writing. We'd written another pilot before that we shot that Eric McCormick was in, a comedy. Maura Tierney was in it actually too, and we came close to selling that one. But this one was basically, we had an idea of having 2 American actors go to Rwanda to volunteer at their friend's charity, but they're like self-involved idiot actors that want to be like the white savior. It's really about white savior going down and we're going to save the poor black kids, so we flipped the whole thing, and it's really fun. I'll send it to you, Ellen. It's really funny. You'll be like, that's fucking funny. How did you not sell this yet? We were close to selling it right before the coronavirus hit. We were like at the table with the president of a major studio who said we're going to go into development, literally in the room, just us and him. And we were like, this is really happening. But I don't know now, whatever, it's the business. And then there's this other TV show that I just wrote. It's an animated series that I wrote music, co-wrote the music to, and co-created it. So a buddy of mine, we're going to start going out with it in about 2 months. And that one I'm really excited about because of the music side, because I played in bands for years, and writing music for a TV show just, has been really fun. And the funny thing is, I keep on saying to him, I said, I think it would be more of a dream for me if we sold it. And then I didn't even write the show after that. We just write the pilot. We get other guys to be in the writer's room for the show. And then me and my writing partner just write all the music for the show. I would rather write the music for the show. That would be probably like, if you were saying, what could you do? Like, if you wanted, what's your next journey? I would say just sitting down at the piano with my writing partner and writing songs and making millions of dollars doing that.
You are like Dick Van Dyke. You are like a quadruple threat. You have a lot of talents. I'm like, I think I'm hot shit because I can do stand up. But you really,
well, the funny thing is, my real dream. Do you want to know my real dream?
Please don't tell me stand up comedy. Is it really?
It is. That is the. First of all, you'll laugh because I have like pages of stand up comedy notes in my book that I've been writing for years, but I'm just too chicken shit. You guys are like literally, I do know this.
We're going to get you on a show. We are going to get you on a show.
I do know I need to do 5 minutes at some point.
We are going to get you on a show. It might have to be a virtual to start with, but we are going to get you on it for sure.
I wouldn't do it unless I got coached by somebody. Like if you said, all right, we're going to work 5 minutes, because then I think I could do it. If I worked 5 minutes and it's just like an acting audition, like a monologue, and I just had it down, I think that I'm pretty sure that after 30 seconds, I'd be like, once I got one laugh, I think I can get through the next 4.5 minutes. So if I got the laugh the first 30 seconds, if I win them the first 30 seconds, I think that I can not die the next 4.5 minutes.
Listen, it's like it's a long journey. I mean, listen, you're way ahead of the curve because of all the performing that you've done, and obviously you have natural comedic timing and all that. So you're there, from that perspective. It's the writing, it's the constructing of a joke.
100%.
It's like it's all these things. It's an art form. Listen, I have no doubt that you could.
I couldn't do it alone though. That's the thing. I've said to my wife, like, she's like, you should do it. And I'm like, first of all, that's like literally like asking me to pick up a guitar and play. I don't play guitar. I couldn't, you know what I mean? Like I can know how to write a joke. I mean, like I know how to write. I know how to write comedy from writing scripts. Right. And I know how to write but I don't know how to construct a set. You know what I mean? That's just like a foreign country. So I would need help with that. I think I have, a lot of my things that I've written are ideas that are pretty good. You know what I mean? But to make them truly funny, you know what I mean? Like that would need help. And I think a lot of comedians, right? A lot of great comedians have co-writers that work with them, right?
I mean, the specials, I don't have a writing staff, but the specials, most of them write with the writing staff. Not that Chris Rock is not funny or Dave Chappelle isn't funny. Yeah. When they're about to do a special, they always have a team to flush it out. And, a lot of us sit and talk and write together. So I want to wrap it up because I know I have to let you go. I can't thank you enough. I could talk to you all day. And I want you to hang on before we stop it. And I just want to talk to you off podcast air. Check out Erik Palladino. Do you have a website or?
I don't. I have an Instagram.
Right.
I got an Instagram. I think it's Erik Palladino. I think. Sorry.
Okay.
Could you just go to www.wearelimitless.org though and donate? That wearelimitless.org.
$5, $10.
Anything you could do, a cup of coffee.
I was just about to say that is like Starbucks is more. So just whatever, just a latte, like pretend you're buying somebody a latte.
Yeah, totally.
So that's good. And you're on IMDb. Check them out on NCIS. We wait for all of your great projects. Thank you so much.
I got Maisel coming up, a couple more episodes of Maisel next season too.
Oh, okay, great. Great. Yeah, definitely watch Mrs. Maisel. Anything Amy Sherman Palladino does, definitely watch. And I am Ellen Karis. Follow me on Instagram at Greek Chick Comic, Ellen Karis, Greek Goddess of Comedy, my website, ellenkaris.com. Check out this podcast and all of the other ones, my comedy clips, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Please support Erik's, especially support Erik's charity. And I thank everybody very much. Until next time, bye.